Welcome back, everyone, to the Risk Intel podcast, powered by SRA Watchtower, where we share risk intelligence with experts from across the banking industry. I'm your host, Ed Vincent, CEO at SRA Watchtower. Welcome back to the Risk Intel podcast. I am very excited to have joining me today for our 2024 year-end episode, Nikki White and Ryan Donaldson. Nikki, Ryan, thanks for joining us today.
Morning, guys.
Thanks, Ed.
It has been an eventful year, to say the least. We had a record-breaking 52 episodes of the show this year. Our audience grew by 77%, and Ryan, I think we published almost 1,000 minutes of content this year. So thank you to you and the team for helping us produce that. We wanted to come in and thank everyone for their contributions this year, and also do a little bit of a look back. And so, Ryan, you went out and you did a bit of market research here for us. You went out and conducted a survey and asked folks about their favorite episodes of the year. So can you just talk a little bit about that and maybe set the stage here for what we're going to talk about here today?
Yeah, certainly. We put a poll out on LinkedIn and internally. Obviously, the podcast is a favorite with our own team. So everyone wanted to rank their favorite episodes, and I'll kind of go down the list, starting with number 10, which was came in at episode 37, which was the From Stuck to Start, where Ed, you actually interviewed Nikki. She came on as a guest to talk about how to take the first step in risk management. Nikki, maybe there's any highlights from that one that you remember that you want to share?
Sure. We really use this one a lot because getting started is often the hardest step. And this has been a great resource for us to share with some of our clients and some of our prospects as they're just thinking about taking the first step in their journey.
Yeah, Nikki, right. It's an important concept, if you will, right? Because it is often hard to get out of the starting gate. And we were in a conversation earlier today with someone where we pointed out that this is an iterative journey, right? And so you can't iterate if you don't get going. And so I think that was a really important theme in this conversation around getting going, right? And you don't have to get to the end immediately, but you've got to get out of the starting gate.
Iterative is one of my favorite words. I think I say it the most during the day.
All right, you guys ready for number 9?
Number 9.
Yes, please.
Number 9 was episode 42. We had credit risk expert Amitabh Bhargava on the show to talk about U.S. agriculture landscape, and he provided a little bit of the 24 industry risk analysis. Anything you'd like to share? It was a 2-part episode, if you remember, and we actually put out a industry white paper. The data, the content that he shared was so good we had to put together a white paper.
This has been a really interesting topic this year. We have spent a lot of time in the farm credit space and working with those associations. The maturity of the way risk management works within the Farm Credit Association is really quite different from our banks and our credit union clients. And we've loved having some deep and thoughtful conversations about how they can mature their functions, how they can continue to serve the industry that they serve, and really be a thriving part of their communities.
I think this one also, Ryan, was interesting because it was a year-over-year series as well, right? Amitabh had been with us in 2023, right, where we conducted our first bit of research into this area, and so we built on that. And as Nikki said, right, there were some trends we were able to extrapolate from there. So excited to continue to do more and more in that ag space as a business.
Exactly. Thanks, guys. Number 8 was episode 48. Very timely episode we just did with our friends over at the American FinTech Council. Ed, you had interviewed the top policy experts over there, Ian Maloney and Hayden Cole, to talk about the 2024 election insights. And the episode was called The Path Forward for Banks and Fintechs Under Trump's Presidency. Anything that stood out there for you?
Yes, I think it's interesting, right? This is a very dynamic space, and we're going to have the folks from the American FinTech Council back on the show in early 2025, talking now about the outlook for the year. I think that there were some really interesting observations around the implications for embedded finance and banks leaning into those fintech partnerships, and also I would say the broader regulatory landscape. I know that it is constantly moving, but we will have a lot more clarity here, right, when cabinet nominees get confirmed. And now though with incoming committee chairs there in the Senate and the House, we've got perspectives on what their views are going to be on regulation and policy. So be exciting to see how that develops there in the first quarter when we have the American FinTech Council folks back on the program.
Exactly. I learned so much as well when we have those guys come on the show. So it's selfishly it's good to learn from that. So to the next two, I'll actually kind of put together. They're around themes of culture of risk. So number 7 came in at episode 26. Is one that you were on the show, Nikki, for cultivating a culture of risk, efficiency, strategy, and shareholder value. And then number 6 was one of a favorite of mine. It was episode number 23. We had Tyler Pill from Service Credit Union. He came on the show to talk about creating a proactive risk culture. Anything you want to share, maybe both of you, on those two?
The culture, I think, is just really can't be understated. When you're working on building out a risk program, you're looking at what software or what tools, and thinking about how you're going to deploy those risk tools to try to build out your culture. You really have to embrace it from the top all the way to the bottom and come at it from an all-encompassing approach, making sure that everyone is on the same page, that they're viewing risk through the same lens. I like to think about it like Goldilocks. Some people say this is too risky. This is not risky enough. Finding that way to make sure that you've got that streamlined and consistent and aggregated view of risk, so that everyone does have the same, can interpret the same outcome from the same information.
Yeah.
Nikki, the other themes I think that came out of, or a couple of the other themes that came out of those conversations with Tyler were really around transparency of communication and consistency of risk training and risk programs, and really getting that culture of risk integrated into daily operations, right? So it's not something that just sits there on a piece of paper. Really, the organization leans into it, and it becomes something that is just part of the DNA of the organization. I think it was interesting to hear, right, kind of Tyler on that journey and how his organization has really embraced that culture of risk.
Exactly. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. All right, we're halfway down the list. Coming in at number 5 was part of a really cool 8-part series we did around hidden factories. And this episode was with our CFO, Sean Ryan, where he broke down what a hidden factory was and what it looks like inside a bank. And that was episode 14. Nikki, I know you and Sean have a little friendly competition going back and forth.
Don't tell him. He doesn't know.
Who listens the most to either of your episodes? You want to maybe comment a little bit that, and then the whole series, which was very educational for our listeners.
I can. I mean, we really open it up with talking about what a hidden factory is. A lot of times it really comes from more of the manufacturing view, but it's so pervasive at financial institutions throughout bank operations. You've got the massive spreadsheets and the things that only one person knows, or the information that exists only in someone's head. And you're making uninformed decisions based on risk data that you really, it's not tangible, that you can't always put your hands on, or even worse, it breaks the day before you have to do your reporting. So that was my episode. That was a little plug in there, get that view up. And any themes on that one?
This is a theme that is right pervasive across financial institutions.
And then he has to make an appearance.
Yeah, he's there we go. Thank you, Sean. I love the fact that we have practitioners inside our business who have lived this and experienced the pain points. And so we were able to really draw upon those specific firsthand experiences. And one theme that really stuck with me throughout that series was follow through. And so you hear a lot about unearthing a hidden factory, right? Making a decision to change, right? We had some episodes over the year about the decision to change and embracing change. And then, right, we also had some episodes around picking the right tools and getting those into organizations. But unless you have the follow through and you truly make sure that the organization does embrace that change and embrace that tool set, right? You're never going to get your ROI. You're never going to get the outcome that you had drawn up on paper. And so that was one of the biggest themes that I took away from that Hidden Factory series was making sure that it is not just an academic exercise, but that people do in fact change behavior, that you have a mechanism to make sure that the changes are embraced and they're put into practice. Because that itself, then you're liable to unearth other hidden factors as a result of that, of having that step in the process. So really, the follow through was a key theme, I think, in that whole series.
Absolutely.
Okay, number 4 was episode 21. This one was with Debbie Bianucci, President and CEO of ProSite Financial Association. The episode was Risk Management Hot Topics, but she actually came on the show, Ed, which was exciting, pretty early on, to talk about the merger between BAI and RMA this year. So any insights you remember from that episode, and just talk about our partners over at ProSite?
Yes, you know, the theme that really stood out from that conversation was the increasing role of technology in risk management, right? And right kind of on the heels of our Hidden Factory conversation, right? One of the anecdotes that I know Sean had shared was, you know, sitting behind that teller window, scratching down things on his you know his yellow legal pad, right? Taking notes so that he could then do some reconciliation at the end of the day. You know, fast forward right to today, and right the way which we are embracing and trying to embrace technology was really, I think, the key theme from that conversation with Debbie. So certainly it'll be interesting to see right how ProSite is able to enable further technology right adoption right in a market segment where right community banks frankly need to innovate in order to survive. And so, you know, helping those institutions understand what their data looks like, and then leading into their use of technology, I think are going to be some key themes for the folks at ProSite going forward.
Exactly. Thanks, Ed. Number 3 was episode 49, Integrated Risk Management, Leveraging Tools and Frameworks to Tell the Right Story. This is with risk leaders Dan Bailey and Eric Bennell. Nikki, I know you actually helped get them on the show. Any comments you'd like to share there? Thank you for your support there.
Of course, this one I thought was really fun of how it just kind of came about. Some really bad late night scrolling when I was supposed to be sleeping and flipping through LinkedIn started an interesting conversation. And I was like, oh, well, Dan is thinking about this. And then earlier I thought, you know, Eric and I were talking about this. I'm like, we should put the two of them together. And so that is how episode number 49 was born. But, you know, I love, as Ed said, talking to practitioners. You know, we are practitioners. Everyone is out there thinking about how they're maturing their risk functions and building out their frameworks. And, you know, what tools are they using and how can they tell an effective story? I think, you know, Ed, we were just in a conversation too about thinking about how to tell complex stories in a simple way. And I think that was a theme that we heard from there.
Yes, that was a CEO that did a great job of really boiling it down to that simple phrase, right? Data's complex. How do we simplify it in order to tell that story in a way that's consumable? So yeah, those are great themes to pick up on.
Awesome. Thank you both. All right, we're getting close to the top of the list now. Number 2 was the most recent episode, actually, is with our partners over at Lumio Insight. They came on the show, Ed, where CEO Jeff Fink broke down how to use data as a strategic asset. This was a very interesting one, 2-part episode.
Yes, Ryan, you know, we have really started sharing this catchphrase that data is the currency of the future, right? That was the theme across those episodes with Jeff, and I think he's going to come back in the new year to close that series out with us. There's no question that data is one of the most valuable assets that a financial institution has at its disposal. The question is, what do you do with it? All right, and so in that conversation with Jeff, we talked about right things around governance and control of your data, and then ultimately getting once you get your hands on that data, boiling it down into something that is consumable. So I think we're gonna have more and more conversations around how to leverage data to really drive business insights, and then integrating right data into those risk-informed decisions to drive the strategy of your organization. So a lot more to come on that, I think, in 2025. But data is the currency of the future, I think will be a theme that we return to over the course of next year.
Exactly. Are you guys ready for number one?
We're ready.
Ready
Let's
for
go,
number
Ryan.
one.
Come on.
All
bring it
right,
on
this
here.
this was a fan favorite internally. I know, hopefully externally too, but we did a special Halloween episode, which was scary stories of risk management. This was super funny. Everybody kind of shared past scary stories of when they were in, working in risk, and hopefully help share some insights with listeners of how to avoid those in the future. So, Nikki, anything you want to share from that episode? And then maybe Ed, if you want to help kind of close us out and sign us off for the year.
Well, that is definitely, I think, one of the favorite internally. We've gotten some good feedback externally as well. It was certainly fun to produce, though I think that some of us recalling our personal experiences of our scary stories made the hair stand up on the back of our neck.
Yeah.
I love how Sean opened it up with his award-winning creative storytelling abilities. So despite our competition, he is actually really good. So you should listen to him. That one was really fun. And just thinking about when you take a step back and think about the things that you're doing each day from a risk management perspective, some of those things could go wrong, especially as you've got really tangled hidden factories or you have insufficient succession plans that if someone leaves, something falls apart or a control structure ceases to function and you maybe don't notice it until it's too late. So we watched those, we had a lot of fun with those, but they still were pretty scary.
Yes, and look, I think it was great for us to embrace the holiday theme there, and bring some of those stories to the forefront, as you said, right? Risk management is the world which we live in, and we appreciate everyone who contributed content over the course of the year. We were able to weave some fun and some smiles into it along the way. We appreciate everyone for listening this year as well and providing feedback. Please keep that coming. It's been a great season to produce. Ryan, thank you and the team for doing so. And we wish everyone a wonderful, safe, happy, healthy, and risk-free or well-managed holiday season. From our headquarters here in Richmond, Virginia at SRA Watchtowers HQ. We thank you for a great year and look forward to seeing everyone back here in 2025.